outstanding guest today.
Very good.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this webinar at 2 p.m. We're going to be talking about Capitol Hill Day today for the More Powerful Together conference held by by the National Youth Leadership Council. My name is Grayson. I'll be the lead facilitator for this webinar today, and I'm joined by Khalida Bach, the CEO, as well as Marcus Penny. Here are some of our pictures. I personally look much more closer to a pirate or a musketeer, so that picture is a little out of date. Marcus has a mohawk and at least 5 facial piercings, so it's...
and my hair is now blue.
Great. Also wearing a studded collar, so... oh, and it just joined us. Perfect. Since we're a relatively small group, there are 5 of us. I'm personally completely okay with unmuting everyone and just having a opportunity for anyone to ask questions over the phone if they would like. So all of you are currently unmuted, so you can not only ask questions by typing in the text box to the right of your screen, but you also can just ask questions verbally.
Grayson, can you tell us who is joining? Sorry, my long story short, technology is not my friend today, even though I have done this multiple times. For some reason, I'm having a challenge getting onto WebEx. So can you just, I'm happy to listen in and to participate by phone, but if you could let me know who else is on, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. So far, Alyssa Cruzel, who is also a Youth Coach Promise Fellow, like I am at NYLC, and Kristen Kiner, and actually what I could do is just let them introduce themselves. So if your phone is not working, you can also type in what you do, where you're from, what organization you're with, and I can read it out loud.
Well, this is Kristen Kiner. Instead of typing it in, I thought, I just unmuted myself, but this is Kristen Kiner, and I'm a youth engagement coordinator with Teen Up Partnership Rapid City in South Dakota. And so we have a group of young leaders that will be attending the conference and going to Day at the Capitol events.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alyssa Cruzel. I'm with NYLC. Like Grayson had mentioned, I'm also a Promise Fellow as well, and I oversee our National Youth Advisory Council. So me and a group of about 5 of our YAC members will be at Capitol Hill Day, so I'm excited to see everyone once we get there in DC.
Hi, Enek. We're just welcoming people to unmute themselves on their own phones and talk, since we have a pretty small group today. So if you're able to kind of explain, your relationship to the conference, who you are, a little bit about yourself, feel free to jump in, either just speak through the phone or just tell us in the chat box if you want. But we're just kind of introducing ourselves.
Sure. My name is Enoch Park. I'm working at a college and also a parent for a youth. So I'll be taking in both the roles as a presenter myself and also a parent of a youth presenter. And I've been attending the conference second year this year, last year as a volunteer, and this year as a speaker. And definitely looking forward to meeting you all in DC, and excited for the event.
All right, it's Enoch. I said your name wrong. I apologize.
No problem at all.
Great. Thanks, everyone. I've allotted for question time after various slides and then at the very end, so feel free to even jump in with questions at any point. We're a small enough group that I think we can handle that just fine. So the agenda for this webinar, most of it, especially points 2 through 5, we're going to be walking through the logistics of the day after setting a baseline sort of introduction for why lobbying is important to us. Launching right in, why lobby? I'd love to hear from all of you about this. Have you had lobbying experience before? If you have, why is lobbying important? And even if you haven't, what are your thoughts on lobbying? Okay, so understand. First slide, people may be a little reticent to launch right in. So here's some.
So Grayson, I was hesitating because I actually have had quite a bit of lobbying experience. This is Kalita. I'm the CEO of the National Youth Leadership Council, and for the bulk of my career, over 15 years, most of it was in the government relations space, and I've been a registered lobbyist for a number of different organizations, but the most important to me were those that kind of the bulk of my career, again, in the youth development space, and having the opportunity to advocate for service learning and for youth voice has just been a really remarkable experience for me. And so I think that oftentimes lobbying has a very negative connotation to it in this country. It oftentimes gets demonized in the media and in the press. But honestly, if you think about the number of different issues and the amount of legislation that we expect U.S. elected officials and their staff to be familiar with and to weigh in on and to vote on and to be educated about, we ask a lot of 535 members of the House and Senate, and so I very much see it as a way to help educate and to be a resource for members of Congress and their staff who, frankly, there's just not enough hours in the day for them to understand all of the ways that legislation impacts their constituents. And I think that at NYLC, and part of why I'm excited about offering Capitol Hill Day is because it's a chance for young people themselves and educators who understand the importance of youth voice and working in partnership with young people to have a chance to go to Capitol Hill to visit with members, but also especially their staff, to really help them to understand what young people themselves are doing, to start to see them as true assets and resources in their communities and in their schools, and to start to value youth voice as they look for how they're going to represent their entire constituency, and that it really needs to include the ideas and the values that young people bring to the table. So I'll get off my soapbox, but that's why I think it's important.
Thank you so much, Kalita, and thanks for jumping in also. Would anyone like to offer their thoughts, opinions, any improvements or ditto? Okay, so some points that I heard Kalita mention were the amount of issues, and it's a chance to educate, which I think absolutely speaks to the first bullet point, that as a citizen lobbyist, you're making an ask of politicians, and you're participating in the decision-making process. Other reasons could be keeping elected representatives accountable. I've also heard that after people lobby for the first time, or even for the 200th time, it's just exciting to be involved in that process, and it's exciting to care, to have that ownership, but also that stake. And it's important to remember that it's one tool in a toolbox for social change, and service learning, it could absolutely be counted as another toolbox. Now, it can be intimidating to lobby, so remember that you are citizen lobbyists. You're not paid to be professional or professional lobbyists, and you're not expected to be experts, but you know what's worked for you, and I think there's a great positivity that is possible by just wanting others in your district, in your the constituency that you live in, to have the same success that you did. But to do that, you first need to get to the hill, and so this is where we start getting into the logistics, into visioning what that day will actually, what hill day will actually look like. So it's on April 8th, and check-in begins at 8:15. It's in Washington 1 of the Marriott Wardman Park Hotel in DC. And then from 8:30 to 8:45, there's a kickoff meeting. We'll be joined by a special guest who's been involved in youth advocacy and programming for over a decade in DC. And then around 9:45, everyone in all the Hill Day participants will head over to Capitol Hill. Any questions so far? Okay. So getting to Capitol Hill, there are really two ways to go about it, and it's really contingent on whether you're meeting first with your senator or your congressperson from the House of Representatives. So if you're meeting with your senator first, then Route 1 is for you. On the maps, you'll see Washington Marriott Wardman Park up in the upper left-hand corner, and it'll be a very short walk, 2 minutes, to the Woodley Park Zoo Metro Station, and it's just a hop onto the Red Line. This will not be during peak transportation hours, so fares range from $175 to $185. You'll take that all the way down to the Union Metro Station and then walk south-southeast about half a mile to the Senate office buildings. And the Senate office buildings, there are 3 of them, Russell, Dirksen, and Hart. Now, if you're starting with meetings with a member of the House of Representatives, this will be slightly different. Instead of taking the Red Line all the way, you'll switch lines at the Metro Center station and catch one of the 3 lines there, the blue, orange, or silver, and take that heading towards New Carrollton or the Largo Town Center. Exit at the Capitol South Metro Station, and it's just a very quick walk, 5 minutes northwest to the House buildings. So here is a closer look at the map of the Senate and the House office buildings. Senate is outlined in red, and House is outlined in blue. And Capitol Hill is in the center, where the B is. Most of your time, if you do have meetings, will be in either the red or the blue section. If you have the opportunity to explore, we highly encourage it. The Capitol building is beautiful. The grounds are beautiful. If you have the time, definitely walk around and explore. Something to think about, though, when scheduling meetings with your representatives is to make the most efficient use of time. Try and schedule, let's say you have meetings with both of your senators. Try to schedule them back-to-back so that you're not walking from the Senate building to the House and then back to the Senate. Instead, you can have it be House and then Senate, or Senate and then House. Everyone on the same page? Is everyone comfortable with me using the word House to donate or to designate a member of your House of Congress or House of Representatives? Everyone cool?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
We will be at Capitol Hill from roughly 10:30 to 3:30, which means there's an opportunity for lunch. And you can either bring your own lunch, or NYLC highly recommends that you bring some money. Lunch is usually $5 to $10 per person in one of the many cafes or cafeterias, and there's a number of them housed in both the Senate and office buildings. It's also a wide range of food options if you have allergies, or if you're vegetarian, or if you want something other than a burger, for example. The best ones are the Dirksen Senate office building cafeteria, which is, again, housed or in the red section. And then the best places to eat for the House of Representative office buildings are either Longworth or Rayburn. Longworth is really popular, so if you want the full Capitol Hill experience, definitely check one of those eateries out. Also, all of this information and more is in the GSN. Just sign in and go to the MPT 15 section, and it'll be in the Hill Day folder. Documents, further information, everything that I'm going over here and then more will be in that folder. So meeting with your legislator. The first step is determining who represents you, and there are luckily a large number of websites that make this super easy. govtrack.us is a really convenient one where you just plug it in, and it not only gives you your congressional district, but it also tells you your 2 Senate representatives and your representative for the House. You can also do it individually by house.gov or senate.gov. So once you've done that, go to their individual websites, and the way that individual representatives prefer you to schedule meetings in different ways. Some prefer using the electronic meeting system or the electronic request form. And that's just in their you'll have to dig around sometimes in their website, but it's usually there. Sometimes they would prefer you to call. Totally cool. Just be persistent. Also, there's a how to schedule a meeting also at in the GSN, much more in depth than what I'm going through now. I encourage you to check that out. Again, be cognizant of the office building locations. And always feel free to write me at gcar@nylc.org, and I'll absolutely follow up with you ASAP.
Hey, Grayson.
Yes, Kalita.
So just something that's also helpful to think about, probably not, unfortunately, for Kristen, who's from South Dakota and only has one U.S. representative. But Enoch, if you're from a different state with multiple members, sometimes if you, like I think you said you're a parent and you also are working with some college students or other students, and so if there's a site that is different or it happens to be in a different zip code, sometimes it could be represented by a different member of Congress. And so if you have the time and the ability and are able to meet with more than one member, if you can sort of put on your parent hat for one representative, and if you are working with students or programs in another congressional district, that's another opportunity to share information with them and to try to schedule time while you're in DC.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Kalita, for pointing that out. Yes, if you live in one congressional district but then work in another, even though your residential representative is one thing, I think you're equally a constituent, although you may not be able to vote. I think you're just as much of a constituent, though, in terms of having concerns for for the area that you work in. Definitely take advantage of that. Before making the initial phone call or filling out the electronic meeting request form, definitely make sure that you have at least 2 times in meeting for a meeting, and remember those are between 10:30 a.m. and the cutoff is 3:30 a.m. That's when we'll be heading back to the hotel. So realistically, probably 10:30 and 3 o'clock at the latest. A list of constituents. You know, if you're bringing a group of college students, or if you're part of a group yourself or anyone that you know of, it's respectful and effective to also include a list of expected numbers that are going to be showing up. And then, of course, why you want to meet, what your motivation is, as a constituent, as a advocate for service learning, as a someone who's interested in the lobbying process. Of course, it's often more than one reason, so give them all. And then most important, the issue you'd like to discuss. And we'll be talking about that a little further on in the webinar. So after scheduling a meeting with your legislator, filing your formal meeting request, follow up, be persistent, and sorry for the rather nauseating color on that. It's a lot brighter than I initially expected. Hopefully that wakes you up, though. Follow up, be persistent. Staff and members of Congress are very busy, and it'll show to them that you want to meet with them, that you have a passion for advocating or just being a caring constituent. Once the meeting is scheduled and you actually show up at the offices, taking the public transportation routes that we went over earlier, some things to keep in mind for what to bring. One, attire, business to business casual. This will help you be taken seriously, sort of like following up multiple times. On April 8th, it will also be recess on the Hill, which means your representatives are likely to be actually back in their home state. However, this does not at all mean that you won't be meeting with anyone. The entire DC office staff will still be there and working very hard. What that also means, though, is that they'll likely be taking a slightly more casual or business casual route also. So no need to dress to the nines, no need to wear a tuxedo, but be respectful and show that you mean business. Additionally, some things that you might want to bring along: leave behind packets, and these could include contact information. It could include, oh, thanks, Enoch. He complimented my wardrobe list. The leave behind packets. This could include contact lists, photos from your successful service learning project. A little bit later, we'll be going briefly over the showcase template, so definitely include that. This is the leave behind packet is an opportunity for the staff or the members to not only try and remember you by face or with nothing to keep hold of. This is a way for the relationship and the follow-up to happen in the first place. Lunch or money to buy lunch. Also, if you have a camera, at 3:30, all the participants will be gathering on the steps of Capitol Hill for a photo opportunity. Additionally, if you're meeting with your representative, definitely ask them for a photo. A lot of them will often say yes. Also, if they say no, if they're too busy, or if the staff is too busy, don't take it personally. They're busy folk, and so maybe snap a picture of the office if that's kosher with them. Then comfortable shoes. Some of the routes, let's see, the first route especially required walking 1.5 miles to get to the Senate office buildings. Additionally, the Capitol Hill is a pretty large campus, and you'll be walking up flights of stairs likely, and it'll be nice to be able to explore the Capitol itself and the Senate office buildings. So, comfortable shoes.
Hey, Grayson, this is Kalita. Sorry, I'm not sure if you meant to say 1.5 miles or to say half a mile. I don't want to freak people out, but yeah. So between Union Station to the Senate office buildings is about half a mile, and it's about another half a mile if you walk from the Senate office buildings to the House office buildings, kind of across the U.S. Capitol building. So again, depending on where your meetings get scheduled and when, you definitely could be walking 1.5 miles over the course of the day. But also keep in mind that if you have folks that are challenged in terms of walking that far, or if you end up getting meetings scheduled really closely together, you can find multiple cabs on Capitol Hill, and I mean, it would still cost you $5 to $10 ridiculously to go half a mile across the hill, but it would definitely, it's definitely another option that is available to you if you do get in that time crunch, or have folks with you that aren't able to walk that far.
Thank you so much for catching me on that. Yes, half a mile, although you may be walking much more than that over the course of the day.
Yes. So yeah, absolutely, yeah. Comfortable shoes are your friends, for sure.
And additionally, this is more of a mental wardrobe that I've used with youth in the past, or when I've been to lobbying trainings. And this may be useful if you're working with high school students, or if you're bringing a group of youth to the Capitol. That there are 3 things you should be wearing. One is your patient pants, because you may be waiting for a meeting, even though you've scheduled a time, and offices are often busy, or previous meetings go late. So it's very common to wait. Absolutely fine, don't panic. You're wearing your patient pants. Second thing is your nimble shoes, not only comfortable, and this is more likely if Congress was in session and your representatives were racing from place to place. Your meeting might not take place in the office itself, and you might have to be talking with them and having a conversation while on the move. The third thing is your brave blazer. Oftentimes, lobbying can be intimidating, or representatives can be intimidating. And you just remember that you have not only a right, but you have a lot of power as a constituent, and your brave blazer will sort of remind you of that. Okay. Any questions? Okay, moving on. Arrival at your member's office. There will be security, so you can't bring in beverages or bags larger than 18 inches by 14 inches by 8.5 inches. Also, it is a place of work, so there are some just etiquette rules to be cognizant of. Be respectful, keep voices low, just like you would in any office building. The actual meeting with your legislator, definitely have your points rehearsed and ready. It's absolutely essential to designate or elect a team captain. And this team captain is, in a way, sort of the face of the group, and that helps the meeting go a little more smoothly than if it was, let's say, 10 to 20 participants all trying to get a word in, or all doing introductions at the same time. So the team captain could especially if your group is large, your team captain could be the person to go into the office and say, our group is here, we'll be waiting outside, look forward to meeting you. Once you are engaged in the conversation with either a staff member or your representative itself, then team captain could thank the member or the staff representative for agreeing to meet to the meeting. The team captain could be responsible for ensuring that everyone is introduced, and also the team captain could very well, or the roles of the team captain could be distributed amongst a few members. So there are things like sharing why you're in Washington, D.C. And on Capitol Hill, and that because you're participating in National Service Learning Conference, for example. You're part of a broader movement to value youth as stakeholders and elevate youth voice, as you're sharing those stories of being a constituent and having successful service learning endeavors. Depending on the time that you have available, definitely prepare to either elaborate or truncate certain points that you have. And again, it's likely that you'll be meeting with congressional staff. Remember that this is a conversation also, so people love having other people ask them questions about themselves. So ask them to tell you more about their role in the office. If they're from your state, then there could be conversations about where they're from, what made them want to work on Capitol Hill, what are their favorite things about working in the office. And if they have questions for you, definitely answer them. Also, most important is ask them to be an advocate for you with the representative. It's not at all a bad thing or a detriment that you're meeting with a staff member instead of the actual member. This is an opportunity to develop relationships with the staff, and if they're excited about what you're saying and the stories that you're sharing and the successes that you've had, then they can absolutely be a personal advocate for you in the office itself, which is a huge benefit and boon. After the meeting is done, the team captain could also summarize next steps or summarize the meeting, thank the member for their time and giving their attention on behalf of the entire group. Again, if you want to take a photo, then at the end of the meeting is the ideal time. Additionally, what would absolutely help, and I mentioned this earlier with the Leave Behind packet, have a showcase, and this could be a collection of photos of anecdotes, of stories, of personal memories that demonstrate the benefit of your service learning project. And it could be organized in sort of a what is a challenge, what's the issue, and how it affects you, and how your service learning project addresses it, as well as the final outcome. Was it a success? Was the issue mitigated? And even if it wasn't, if there was learning that was generated out of it, that's a huge benefit and an awesome thing. So do not be afraid to highlight that. Of course, legislators want to hear success stories, especially about the districts that they represent. So really be thinking about how are you making their districts better through service learning. On the GSN, and again, this is in the GSN Hill Day folder, there is a sample showcase one-pager, and the sample is from the previous year. A template will be going up tomorrow that any participants can use, take advantage of, build off of for their own, to personalize it and make their own showcase forms. Okay, I've been talking for about 40 minutes now, and you've been probably sitting and listening. Thank you for all of that. But I think it's time for a little wake up and stretch break. Wherever you are, get up out of your chairs. I am doing it. Marcus and I are out of our chairs. Reach up to the sky. Shake out your legs. Bend down, touch your toes. Shake out your arms, shake out your legs. Do a goofy motion. Feel free to make goofy sounds if you want. Marcus, I see you smiling. He's a little embarrassed at me. Totally cool. Okay. And again, I hope that color did not send you into epileptic shocks or seizures. Transitioning now, Kalita, who you've heard speak a few times before, is going to commandeer the next section, which is all about the ask. What exactly you'll be saying to your representatives or to the representatives' staff, and she has tremendous experience, so I'm looking forward to it. Take it away, Kalita.
No pressure, Grayson. Nice job. I feel better after stretching. Thanks for giving me a chance to join the webinar today. So I think you've put together a couple of bullet points there, but really, again, the most important goal for us at NYLC in putting together Capitol Hill Day is really an opportunity for participants to demonstrate how they are addressing issues within their member state or congressional district, and that service learning is a strategy that you're using. So it is always helpful, though, when you're there, to have a chance to raise attention to other federal legislation that can have a positive impact on the ability for you and for others to utilize service learning as a strategy. So if you're following what's happening in federal education policy at all, you know that No Child Left Behind is the current legislation that still funds K-12 education in this country. However, that law technically expired in 2007, and there has yet to be enough agreement between Republicans and Democrats to actually reauthorize or to redo that legislation to make it the priorities for where we're at today and kind of moving forward. So there is a bill that has been introduced on the House side. Congressman Klein as the chair of the House Education and Workforce Committee. And it was brought to the floor a couple of weeks ago, but then taken off of the House floor again due to Republican opposition. And so there's a lot of different moving parts and competing bills and competing politics with No Child Left Behind. My sense is that what has often happened in the past is going to happen again this time, which is where if there is some standalone legislation, so if there's something that isn't a part of the current No Child Left Behind reauthorization or Elementary and Secondary Education Act reauthorization, then sometimes if there's enough support or advocacy around a particular bill, if there's enough co-sponsors and members who are interested in it, oftentimes if it's related to K-12 federal education policy, it will kind of get wrapped up into that reauthorization process over time. So many of you may already be doing things, whether it's through your school districts or through other coalitions that you're a part of, and have some federal legislation that you want to bring to a member's attention. What I want to do is just share a couple of things that we're advocating for, and if that's something that you would like to include, we would love for you to be able to do that. Would appreciate your support on these things. So there's actually 10 bills that have been introduced this year that are not part of No Child Left Behind or the Elementary and Secondary Education Act reauthorization in the 114th Congress that include service learning as a strategy. Two that we're specifically interested in and that we're urging you to include are bipartisan, so that's something that's very important to us. There is at least one or more members of the opposite party on both of these pieces of legislation. There are other organizations or other coalitions that are also supporting them, so you already have kind of a groundswell of support and advocacy behind these pieces of legislation, and we think there would be a significant impact on positive outcomes for children and youth if these bills were passed. So the first one is Senate Bill 191, and the title is Educating Tomorrow's Workforce Act of 2015. What's interesting about this bill is that it actually amends the Carl D. Perkins Career and Technical Education Act of 2006. So it's focused on career and technical education, but the way that it operates and what's interesting about this is that it focuses on some key aspects of learning that we hear a lot about now these days, even though the career and technical education folks have been at this for many, many years. But it includes things like implementing college and career-ready curriculum, including experiential or service learning for secondary students in collaboration with employers, things like that where we know that service learning is a great strategy for trying to accomplish career and technical education goals. So there's bipartisan support for it. It is currently only a Senate bill. It has not been, a companion bill has not been introduced in the House yet, but we're excited about Educating Tomorrow's Workforce Act. The second bill, there is legislation that has been introduced in the Senate, Senate Bill 308, and in the House. So it's the House Bill 1042. And this is the After School for America's Children Act. So, Kristen, I think maybe I heard you say that you're a youth engagement coordinator. So I don't know if you're, and I apologize, I'm not sure if you're working within the schools or if you're working with out of school time or both, but we think there's a real opportunity for increasing support for the 21st century community learning centers, which is what this bill is in reference to, and having service learning as a strategy that works both in out of school time as well as during the school day. And I know that the After School Alliance, for example, is one organization that is definitely behind the After School for America's Children Act and is helping to advocate on that. And I know through conversation with them that they're also really interested in figuring out, as are we, how do we better align those service learning strategies so that they can better support both the goals of K-12 in school as well as out-of-school time programs. So all of the bill information, who the sponsors are, who the co-sponsors are, what the bill text is, everything else is, can be found at www.congress.gov. And you type in either the bill title or the bill number, or even if you typed in service learning, you could see what the other bills are that have been introduced in the 114th Congress. As I mentioned, there are a couple of other advocacy organizations that are promoting this legislation. As I said again, the After School for America's Children Act is supported by the After School Alliance, and the Educating Tomorrow's Workforce Act is supported by the Association for Career and Technical Education. So their website is www.acteonline.org. So if there's questions, I'm happy to answer the questions, but in the interest of time, I also just wanted to let you know we will do our very best to put together just kind of a quick one-pager that outlines both of these bills and provides enough information so that you could include it in as one of the leave-behind documents in the packet of information that you may be bringing to the Hill with you in April. So I'll pause there. If there are questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Otherwise, I will turn it back over to Grayson.
Okay, thank you so much, Kalita.
Yeah.
I have two small things to add. One, the S in the bill numbers stands for Senate, and the HR stands for House of Representatives, and those just designate whether they are bills in the Senate or the House of Representatives. Also, I see this as, or I see advocacy as an effort for, or an extension of service learning, almost, that it's systems level thinking, that participants or youth aren't only changing their districts on the ground back home, but they're advocating for institutional supports to make their district better and to make their constituency have fewer issues around whatever they're interested in. Okay. So those are the further resources that Khalida mentioned. Now you've talked with your representative, you've made it to Hill Day, you've had lunch, you have taken advantage of your comfortable shoes. What do you do afterward? Earlier, of course, when talking about the team leader, we mentioned that when you meet with your representative or when you meet with the staff, you should talk about next steps and who should contact whom, if there's any additional information that the staff would like, then definitely make note of that. But immediately after returning home, send a personalized thank you letter and include a photo if possible. Another benefit of taking a photo on Capitol Hill. Of course, the Leave Behind packet is a great way to keep those conversations rolling, provide any information they requested, and within the personalized thank you letter, of course, reiterate the invitation to visit and view your project and activity. It would be not only a cool way to keep that conversation rolling, but I don't know, in my mind, that would be a pretty cool thing to be responsible for a representative coming to your school or service learning project. Then the last bullet point is sharing your story. And that's a hallmark of service learning cycles in general, sort of the demonstration phase, allowing people to build on the successes or areas of improvement that that you've been sussing out with your service learning project, and writing to your school board or writing to your school or city newspaper about the experience of visiting your representative, of the highlights, what you learned, what you were advocating for, absolutely plays into that demonstration aspect. So we've been bombarding, I combined words there, bombarding, barraging you with information for the last 50 minutes now. To recap, again, this information and more is on the Service Learning Conference website, which can be accessed through various, following a trail of links through NYLC's website. If you haven't signed up for the GSN, absolutely, I highly encourage you to do that. Tons of resources, especially specifically about this upcoming Hill Day. And you get to it by signing into GSN, going to the group section, and then clicking on the link for hashtag MPT15. MPT stands for More Powerful Together. And then sort of scroll down and you'll see the Hill Day folder. I'll be adding to those weekly. And then in addition, if you haven't already registered, definitely register, and you can start getting those weekly email updates that I've been sending out. Also, this has been recorded live. If you want to change it in any way, insert a guitar solo, just contact Marcus and he can make that happen. Lastly, definitely write me, gcar@nylc.org. I'll get back to you ASAP. We can chat on the phone or communicate via email, and I'll do my darnest to answer any questions or provide any support that I can. Any questions, concerns, comments?
So, Grayson, this is Kalita. If folks are still on the phone, which I hope they are, great job, by the way, and just wanted to see if you've had a chance to visit Capitol Hill before or visit with your elected officials. Have you scheduled all of your meetings or kind of where you're at in that process? If you haven't started, it's okay. There's no judgment. I'm just asking the question.
This is Kristen in South Dakota, and we have reached out, and obviously with it being recess and stuff, and it's just after Easter, and you know, we've already kind of been told that we'll probably be meeting with staff instead of, you know, our representatives and stuff, and that you know, we are going to also, they're going to provide us with a group tour and stuff. So we're excited about that. Yeah, yep, and then you know, there's been ways that we've been able to have young people get involved with town hall meetings and stuff as they come back here to South Dakota. So we've been encouraging a lot of that too, since we know that we may not have that personal visit right in BC. So
awesome, way to go! That's great. So the only other thing I would just share. And Grayson, if you already mentioned this, I apologize hugely, but you know, it is fine, kind of circling back to the whole citizen lobbying idea. If you are asked a question and you don't know the answer to it, it is absolutely fine to say, great question. I don't know the answer, but I will find out and get back to you. And just make sure that you get back to them. But you know, it's a great opportunity for the students and for each of you, frankly, to also just offer to be a resource to that member. And if they have any questions about what youth are thinking or youth issues or education, to be sure to add you to their list of folks that they can call in the district to be a resource for them.
Great, thanks, Kalita. And thank you, everyone. So excited to see all of you at Hill Day on April 8th at 8:15. If you have any further questions, please, again, don't hesitate to write or call me. And just because, in honor of the conference, we're more powerful together. And I sincerely think that as citizen lobbyists, it's all about people power, and recognizing that just as a constituent, you have a lot of power. So thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, Kalita.
thanks.